Welcome to the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show. I am League Commissioner Cameron Irvine. If you're new to the SFL, just what exactly is the Simulation Football League? Hundreds of people just like you watching tonight are living out their dreams to be football superstars in front of an international audience through our digital football gridiron. Every player discussed tonight is represented by a real person who gets to cheer their players' growth and victories with their friends, family, and teammates throughout their career. Tonight is the first of 3 rounds of the rookie draft as teams begin to fill out their rosters with new players to the league, all of which started on the couch and hope to finally make it to the field. If you don't know the league history, we'll be breaking down every team in the league tonight too, catching you up before the league's 14th season kicks off on 11 Sports and FTF in January. Setting the stage before our first pick, the first female quarterback in the SFL, Ashley Jackson, gets us ready for the biggest night of the offseason. St. Louis, you are on the clock.
Across this globe, people of all ages, ethnicities, backgrounds, and challenges have what they describe as an ordinary story. Here, no one is ordinary. We celebrate people for who they are and, more importantly, who they've always wanted to be. Some used to play sports. Others never got the chance to. In the virtual world, nothing else matters except your will to be great and your ability to make an impact on and off the field. We build friendships. We build teamwork. We celebrate in the wins and gain fuel from the losses. The true melting pot, a celebration of how exciting and fun life can be. Tonight, 20 more get drafted from couch to field, and the stories they will share, the moments they will cherish with their friends, present and future, their families and children for years to come, are anything but ordinary. This is the SFL Rookie Draft.
All right, welcome everybody to the Simulation Football League Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show. I'm Mike Daggs. I will be the host for the event this evening. I'm the Director of Broadcasting for the Simulation Football League, and with us tonight, quite the varied host of panelists here. We'll start with Chris Curtis to my right. Chris, what are you looking most forward to for the draft here tonight?
I mean, ultimately, this is the first step one of the first steps towards the Season 14 kickoff. You know, everybody thinks the offseason is too long, yet myself included, but it's necessary. And we get it going towards that eventual kickoff.
Yeah, absolutely. To his right, Mark Chisholm. Mark, what are you thinking about the draft tonight?
I'm here to see who's going number 1. That's what we came here to do, and see who St. Louis is going to pick to help turn their franchise around.
It's a big pick. St. Louis on the clock right now. We'll see who they select here in just a matter of minutes. Ray Bentley in the house. How you doing tonight, Ray?
Doing pretty good.
What are you looking forward to tonight?
I'll be totally honest. I need drama. I need as much drama as possible. I want to see a pick that's going to make the whole Discord explode. I need it.
Well, I mean, Ray, the SFL community would expect nothing less than you wanting drama.
Yeah. Please give it to me as soon as possible.
Turn it over to Andrew Rustelli. Andrew, go ahead and take it away. Introduce your panel to us.
Thank you, Mike. With me, I got Eddie Gage, owner of the Arizona Scorpions, and Andy Hamilton, owner of the Vancouver Legion. I'm going to go to Eddie first. What exactly are you looking most forward to?
What up, though? Myself, I'm looking forward to a few picks in particular. Queen City, myself, of course, followed by Florida, formerly of Alaska. So those are a few teams I have my particular eye on. But I want to see how this whole thing plays out, to be honest with you.
Great. And Andy, tell me.
For me, I'm looking forward to seeing where all of these rookies end up, where a lot of them find their place in the league, not only on the team that selects them tonight, but going forward, how they cement their legacy moving forward and how they, really look to make an impact across the SFL as a whole. So I'm excited. A lot of new faces are going to find a lot of new homes tonight, and it gets rolling here relatively soon.
We're heading back to you, Mike.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So, St. Louis on the clock right now. They've they've been in need of a quarterback. Chris, they didn't select a quarterback with the first pick that they had last season around. They went with a defensive tackle. They ended up selecting a quarterback later on in the draft. Do they need a quarterback now?
They need a leader. That's what it basically comes down to. They've gone fishing on a couple picks now and haven't really found that franchise need. But in this case, I think a quarterback is necessary to get that ship righted and hopefully get them back in the win column for more than a couple times a season.
Mark, as a team owner, how important is it to have that leadership in the locker room?
Oh, that's critical to have that amongst the other guys in your locker room, to someone they can look to and help guide them down the path they want to go to success.
Absolutely. Well, the pick is in, so the wait is over. We'll send it to the podium. Commissioner Cameron Irvine will announce the selection for St. Louis.
With the first pick in the SFL's Winter 2020 rookie draft, the St. Louis Gladiators select Johnny Pickler, quarterback, Elmhurst, Illinois. And Johnny is here with us tonight in studio. Carolina, you're on the clock. Johnny, congratulations. Thanks for being here.
So Johnny Pickler is the selection. We'll send it over to Andrew Rustelli and his group for reactions.
Thank you, Mike. So, Andy, tell me, how do you feel about this pick? I think it was pretty much the expectation of a lot of people in the league, but is it the right move?
I think momentum has been building for Johnny over the last couple of weeks to kind of put him in this spot of number one. I think it'll be interesting. There's been a lot of discussions about value. There were two quarterbacks who were higher valued coming into the draft, and obviously St. Louis saw something in Johnny off the field that they want to put to the test and kind of see how that'll benefit their team going forward. For me, I think for the biggest thing for St. Louis right now is to get wins. They have to put wins on the board for not only that franchise, but also the fans and the players on that team. So the question will really be for Johnny, can he put those wins on the table? And we're going to have to find out. The only thing you can do is play the games and figure it out.
So next on the clock, we got Carolina. So, Eddie, can you give us a heads up on what you think that the next move for Carolina is going to be?
I've been in discussions throughout the chat, just listening to the leaders of their team. I personally like to see them draft someone on a defense, with me being a defensive guy. But I'm honestly not sure because they've been keeping it kind of tight up under wraps. So I just have to wait and see, just like everyone else.
Great. All right. Well, that's the initial reactions from the first overall pick, Johnny Pickler going to St. Louis. We're going to send it back to Dax.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So looking at the upcoming season for St. Louis, Chris, what are you expecting from them?
They only have one way to go up at the moment, and I think Pickler's going to be I think Pickler can be a guy that can make an immediate impact. As long as everything goes right for them scheme-wise, they can build around him through the rest of this draft and through the rest of free agency. They have a chance to possibly have at least a quicker turnaround than they have previously. So I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. So the St. Louis Gladiators not only had the number one pick tonight, but Missouri's SFL team also sports one of the best SFL stories, a bond between father and son. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy before he turned 1 year old, Colin Northrup has gone from the 45th pick of the Season 7 SFL draft to co-owning the St. Louis Gladiators while living out his dreams of being a play-by-play broadcaster. Colin may have challenges, but the rewards of family can topple any obstacle.
Being a player too, everybody grows up thinking that they're gonna play in the Super Bowl or play for their favorite college team, for whatever. And just for me to have that aspect of it, even though I physically can't do it, for circumstances that were beyond my control, and give that an outlet and see people for not my disability, but for who I can be as a person, how I treat others,
He said, "Dad, check this out. This is kind of cool." And so I did, and I watched him become more and more involved. And then because, you want to do things with your kids, I started becoming involved that way. I actually had a player for a couple of seasons, played on Andy Hamilton's Vancouver team. But now I just do the broadcasting and color commentary for Colin.
It's been fun to watch his confidence grow and him grow he's always loved the game. I mean, he loves football. I mean, he was 8 years old and he'd be announcing games in our living room to the TV. You know, so he's always had that passion for the sport. But to see him navigate an organization and build in his confidence is what I noticed, you know, a growth in him.
The guys in the league and my own players of the team that I own, you know, I hope I just create a wonderful impression for all of them, and to be able to share it with my dad and the way we broadcast games, or even just the people around me, and you know, it's a wonderful experience.
And over the last several years, seasons, as we've been doing this, I've seen Colin grow and develop his skills and his ability, not just around being broadcasting, but working with other people, putting a team together, working together for a common goal and an objective. And I see other people doing that as well.
Oh, he gets loose. Let's run a block, a break and tackle. Another one. There goes Brittany Green, 10 by 4, 3-1 touchdown.
I would say it's been a really neat father-son bonding. They're close, but to share that love of sports in a new way has been just brought a lot of joy to our family.
Absolutely beautiful tribute to Colin Northrup. And the pick for Carolina is in, so we will send it back to the podium. Cameron Irvine to announce the selection.
With the second pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the Carolina Skyhawks select Riley Combs, defensive end, Jane Lou, West Virginia. Arizona is on the clock next.
All right, so Riley Combs is the selection. Andrew, we're going to send it back over to you. Give us the reactions to the pick.
All right, Eddie, defensive player going to Carolina, as you guessed. Is this the pick you expected, the position?
Myself personally, I would have drafted a cornerback, but perhaps they're looking at the defensive line as if they can find a way to get pressure on the quarterback and maybe deploy a cover 2 scheme. Cornerbacks aren't as necessarily as important as a defensive end in that scheme. So perhaps that's the direction they're looking in. We just have to wait and see what they do with it.
And they already have a couple of decently valued defensive tackles, so they're going to add some end help to that.
Yeah.
Andy, what do you think about adding a defensive end to that particular defensive line?
Sure. I think defensive linemen this season are going to be at a premium, especially with all the additional roster spots. So I don't think Carolina's making a mistake in that. I think it'll be interesting to see with the other 2 rounds of the draft how they address the opportunity at cornerback that they have open right now. But your front 4 is going to affect that pass rush and affect the quarterback's decision-making when throwing the ball. So in a way, they are attacking the passing game. It's just in the front 4, not in the back 4.
Exactly.
Sounds great. We're going to send it back to you.
All right, Eddie, you're on the clock, man, so you better get picking your guy. So, Mark, the Carolina season outlook, what are you expecting from them this season?
I expect them to build upon their struggles last season. They will definitely be better off this season after that pick right there on the D-line to get pressure on the quarterback. That will help their season a lot. Sully is settled in as their leader in that locker room, and I think they definitely will have a better season.
All right. Sounds good, absolutely. So we're going to take a short break. Arizona's number 3 selection will start us off when we come back. You're watching the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show on 11 Sports and FTF. Pilcher do it? Pickler? Okay. Welcome back to the SFL Rookie Draft. We're going to send it over to the commissioner. He's at the podium. He has the pick for Arizona.
With the third pick in the SFL 2020 Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the Arizona Scorpions select Mark Mello, defensive end, Ontario, Canada. New Orleans, you're on the clock.
All right, so Mark Mello is the selection, and be here with Eddie Gage. Eddie, been wanting your own team for a long, long time, and you know we, I guess finally we were able to make that happen for you.
Absolutely, it's been a long time coming. I didn't think this day would ever get here, but through some phone calls and connections, I made some things happen, and I'm just happy to finally be here. And with this opportunity, I'm blessed to have it. I'm going to take every advantage of it that I can and look to bring a championship to Arizona.
This is your first selection in your franchise history now, Mark Mello. Why Mr. Mello?
Honestly, personally, I was looking in a different direction, but I had some talks with a different gentleman. But after conversing with Kanye Robinson and Ashley Jackson, formerly of Tulsa, they spoke very highly of him to the point where I just couldn't no longer ignore him. I set up a conference call between the four of us. We spoke about it at length for quite some time. And as you all know, he aspired to actually be a kicker. So I wanted to let him know, hey, you know, I'm looking for a defensive end. So if this is something that you're comfortable with doing, I'll make that happen for you. And he debated over for a while. I told him, hey, make sure you're certain that this is what you want to do. And after about a week or so of deliberations, he came back and said, hey, I'm really cool with Ashley and Kanye, and I like where your team is going and direction it's headed in, and you're the very defensive guy. So if anyone can get me to the Pro Bowl, it'll be you. And I'm looking to make that happen for him.
All right. Well, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing your inaugural season get started. You know, very excited for you, very happy for you. Eddie, couldn't have happened to a better guy to get your own franchise. Andrew Stelling, I'm going to kick it back over to you. You're joined on stage with our #1 overall pick. Take it away.
Thanks, Mike. Johnny, congratulations, man. #1 overall.
Thanks. No, it means a lot. I couldn't be more excited.
So, hey, anything you want to say out to the owners, that Colin and Dwayne?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I just want to thank both owners, Colin and Dwayne. An absolute honor that you guys selected me. I can't wait to represent both of you, your families, the city of St. Louis, and everything that you guys all represent. I also want to give a special thanks to Gerald Smith, the coach. He did a part in the recruiting of me. At this point, you know, when I think about the idea that the beginning of my career is in one coach's hands, you know, that's a big thing. And after the extensive conversations that Gerald and I have had for weeks and weeks and weeks, there's no other coach I would choose. I feel very comfortable with my career in his hands, and I look forward to a lot of good times ahead in St. Louis.
So with you know, St. Louis, with the kind of struggles they've had both on the field and at your particular position, what do you think you're going to bring to that team in order to take them to that next step to try and make that playoff push?
I mean, I think it's about leadership and organization. I think a lot, you know, it's going to have to do with Gerald as well, you know, being a new coach in town, and he has a lot of expectations for us, and we have a lot of work to do as a team. You know, we have a good team. We have a good team on paper. We have on defense, we have a good mix of veterans and young players and young talent. On offense, I mean, we got Dawson, we got Finch, we got a great tight end. I mean, we have playmakers. These guys are playmakers. It's going to be about getting them the ball and watching them do work.
Have you had any conversations with offensive coordinator Cody Scott, and has he kind of given you any ideas about how he plans to utilize you this upcoming season?
I have not had extensive conversations with Cody Scott yet, but you know, I look forward to meeting him and meeting the entire team.
Great. All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you,
really
guys.
Appreciate it. Send it back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Andrew. So with that, the pick is in. We will send it back over to the podium. Cameron Irvine, take it away.
With the 4th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the New Orleans Pharaohs select Bryce Lincoln, linebacker. The number 5 pick, Charleston, is on the clock.
Bryce Lincoln, linebacker. That is the selection. New Orleans picking that linebacker right there. We'll get the reactions from Andrew Rustelli's panel. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. So Andy, I gotta ask you. We have 3 defensive positions chosen right up front, right after the top pick of QB. Is linebacker a position that New Orleans was really looking for in order to kind of fill a role?
Yeah, I think they have Levant Irvine already on their team, and Levant has been a very good linebacker for them. But I think adding additional depth there is going to help that front 4 and front 7 really attack the running backs. We saw Tank Bennett, who was on their team, have a lot of tackles from the safety position, which as a safety is not something you necessarily want to get involved with. You want your front 7 to tackle the ball carrier. So adding a linebacker is going to help that team quite a bit.
So Charleston, now on the clock, where do you think that they're going to be heading with this upcoming pick?
I've got my concerns about that as well. I'm not quite sure. They've been pretty stout defensively, so I'm thinking they're going to use this pick to pick up an offensive player. There's a couple of places they can go. My guess is they're going to either pick up an additional receiver or perhaps even maybe a fullback.
Okay. Well, thanks. We'll send it back to you, Mike.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Let's talk a little bit about Charleston's upcoming season. Ray, I've been waiting to hear from you all night. It's already, 22 minutes into the draft, and you haven't really said much. That's not like you.
It is the most absurd thing I've ever heard of, personally. But I'll be honest, this whole draft so far, there's not a lot of drama. The most drama I've seen has been Mark Mello is not a kicker, which made me throw up my arms in amazement and I guess disgust.
You wanted a kicker selected high.
I did.
So you could freak out.
So I could scream. And I might still scream, everyone. But with Charleston, I'm not really sure what they're going to go for here because last season they had a lot of games that really could have gone one way or the other. And it's just, I trust what Allen's going to do with his pick. But to see where he takes the team from there, I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen there. And especially with New Orleans' last pick, because their defense last year was struggling. Their offense could put points on the board, and now they have Streeter. So with Bryce Lincoln adding to it, I think New Orleans they're going to come back. I think they're going to come back to playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, New Orleans, their season, what are you expecting to see?
Well, their defense needs to improve. As Ray alluded to, they were a team that gave up 40 points or more 4 times last season. And they need some help on that side of the ball. And them taking a linebacker makes sense. I think it helps shore up the middle of that field. What I'm hoping for them is that they get somebody who can sneak into the middle, stop the run. Doesn't have to make a lot of second-level tackles. If that's the case, I think they'll be okay. But there's improvement coming for New Orleans. I think they turn it around pretty quickly.
All right. So let's change gears just a little bit. Mark, talking about how players in the SFL pick their numbers. Your player, number 58, what does that mean to you?
58 to me, I found the SFL in season 5, and I was drafted in season 6 by Queen City at pick number 8. So that's how I came up with my jersey number, 58.
Combine the 5 and the 8, and there
Yes,
you go.
sir.
So, Mr. Ray Bentley, you started off with number 27. Now you're number 28.
I did.
What's
I
the
love
story?
addition. No, it's 27 I chose because originally my running back was based off of Eddie Lacy. And he was 27, so I was 27. But last year, I was lucky enough to get married to the love of my life.
Congratulations.
On the 28th. And I asked Cam at Rastelli, is it okay if I just bump one number up? So I love you, Jenny.
You could say you do love addition, don't you?
Yes,
added
very.
that.
There you go. You add it to your life. Chris,
There you go.
number 84.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I didn't want to be a 1 and then a 4. I didn't want to be 14. I wanted to be have a number 4 in there. But me being a receiver, I was stuck in the 80 range. 4 has been through physical sports and through virtual sports, it's been my number for just about everything. So it's a pretty easy pick for me, and it's worked out pretty well.
All right, well, the pick for Charleston is in, so we will turn it back over to the podium, Commissioner Cameron Irvine, to announce Charleston's selection.
With the 5th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the Charleston Predators select Lyric Da Vinci, tight end, Atlanta, Georgia. In honor of the 5th pick, let's take a quick look back at the top 5 plays from the SFL's 13th season, one-of-a-kind plays, moments that are one in a million.
Doubles look, 2 receivers either side. 7 in the box for Sioux Falls. Jazz a 3-step drop. Pump fakes, now goes down the middle.
Oh
Drop,
my gosh.
knocked up in the air.
Oh
and
my
it's picked
gosh.
off at the 37-yard line. Is that Ringgold? It is a touchdown for Sioux Falls.
Wow.
Jay Ringgold.
Talk about capitalizing on plays. That ball went up. I don't know if I've ever seen a tip go up that high before.
Wow.
Well, I think it might have hit one of the lights in the rafters there, but my gosh, they grabbed it when they needed to. Oh my God, now they have complete control of this game, and the defense is just playing on another level. Unbelievable.
Get your umbrellas out because when it rains, it pours. 41.
BDG Hollywood will get this flip out. Another dynamic back with some room, and Hollywood, oh, stop and go! 2 spins! Oh, unbelievable! That is the best touchdown I have ever seen! Oh, Eddie, have you ever seen a back make a move like that on the sideline?
You know what? I give him jokes all the time about him being a young pup in training, but I've seen this before from BDG Hollywood. He has a knack for making people miss on that sideline. He does it week in and week out. But however, I've never seen it quite to this extent. He's made 3-man wrist right there. That makes a 4th, and a 5th can't catch him. Touchdown Atlanta, and just like that, Seattle thought they tied the ball game up right back in it, and now they're down 7 once again. Extra point vengeance.
Kick it away. Man, what if Douglas was surprised onside kicking? That would be something.
Watch out for Daggs.
On a return.
Somebody
Past the
better
30.
bring him down.
Jeffrey Daggs is in the
Oh,
open
no.
field. And to start
Oh, look at that
overtime,
block.
Daggs is going to finish it. Mexico City's going home with a victory.
He is the player of the game. Thank you. That's my vote. Unbelievable. Did you see that offensive line lay out? I think it was the kicker.
Jeffrey Daggs on the first play of overtime has won the game for the Aztecs. Two kickoff returns for touchdowns and nearly a pick 6, and you will never see a game end like that.
Not just the defense. It was a high-scoring game coming up here to the 4th quarter, and now it looks like the defense is starting to lock down both offenses.
And Chicago blocks the punt, and they recover it, and Chicago's going all the way, and the Wildcats take the lead on a block punt. I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh.
Punt rejected by number 31, Perry Elmore. And actually, he was the one that recovered the fumble. But who was it that actually blocked the kick? That was 23, Brandon Vesey. And the Wildcats have taken the lead on a block punt. I have seen everything. Do something crazy on this final play. 2 seconds left. Can Seattle come back and win the game? Going long down the field. Unbelievable! Oh my God! It's caught! Mason Kirby has won the game for Seattle! Oh man! I can't believe it! I can't believe it!
Oh my gosh! Mason Quiet Kirby came in.
No way!
Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
The 3-time champs are out of the playoffs!
Love those highlights. Those are great, especially the one with Jeffrey Daggs in there. I love to see that one in the top 5 plays. So Charleston's selection, Lyric Da Vinci, a tight end, arguably the most important position in the Simulation Football League is tight end, right? I don't think anybody would argue that
No
one.
bias there, right?
But no, what are you talking about?
Best blocker, bar none.
Someone's got a block for you, Ray. Exactly. Why not me? So for more actual informed reactions to the pick, let's turn it over to Andrew Rustelli and Eddie Gage.
Thanks, Mike. So, Eddie, Charleston did go offense like you called, but they decided to go for tight end, which was not a position I think that we were expecting. What's your immediate reaction to that?
I myself was not expecting that either. They already have one tight end on their roster. Now they have two. I was looking more along the lines of maybe fullback. Rumors are they're going to re-sign that tailback. But looking at it, I guess they're going to plan on using a lot of 12 personnel sets, a lot of 2 tight end sets, obviously. Get an additional blocker for their running game. I know that they like to run the ball a ton. So we'll see how it goes. But they're amongst the general leaders in chat, and I've been trying to get some information out of them prior to the draft, but they weren't biting. You know, they kept a pretty tight ship there in regards to what they wanted to do. So to see them draft a tight end, I think that's my biggest surprise thus far in this draft through 5 picks now, is to see them go in that direction. But we've seen it work before in the past with those 2 tight end sets. I myself, I like doing it as well. So we'll just see how they plan on using it. But they'll be a team I'm watching closely. In fact, I played them this season, week 9. So by then I have some good tape on them, and I'll be able to see more or less how to counter it, I guess.
And really, the team you took over, Oklahoma City, they were famous for running 2 tight end,
Yes.
2 tight end builds for season upon season, just perfecting that ability. So we know that it's possible to be effective, but tight end in this particular draft is of rather low value. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to make that work going into season 14. With Vancouver on the clock, what do you think? Your Patriot is going to be?
I'm not sure on Vancouver. At the top of my head, I say fullback, but I'm not sure if they want to do that in the first round. They might, invest in that later. So perhaps they look at D-line. Their owner tends to talk about the success of my defense a lot, and I like to employ 4 defensive linemen if I can. So perhaps they go that route. I'm not sure, but they already have 1 defensive end. Perhaps they pair him with another defensive end or defensive tackle. Who knows? We'll just wait and see here in a minute. But I don't know. I'm looking either defensive line or fullback maybe.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll send it back to Dax.
All right, thanks, Andrew. I'm not quite sure I like the way you're talking about tight ends there, but, highest value in the draft, I think, is what you meant to say. People make mistakes. It's okay. Real quick, before we get to Vancouver's pick, the Charleston season outlook, Chris.
Real quick. Eddie hit on a lot of it, but their defense, as you mentioned before the pick, was pretty good. A lot of their games were 1.5 possessions usually, and they haven't really had a solid direction on offense. So hopefully, adding this piece will give them more of a direction, like you mentioned with the 2 tight end set. It very well could happen. I thought they were going a different way. I didn't expect tight end in the first round, but I know you're high on tight ends. So not too bad.
Hashtag throw it to the tight end. All of you seem to be down on tight ends. I don't really like the feel of this draft right now. You want to talk about drama anyway. Sending it over to the commissioner to announce Vancouver's selection.
With the 6th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the Vancouver Legion select Lee Adama, defensive tackle. London is on the clock with the 7th pick.
All right, so Lee Adama, defensive tackle, is the selection. So now I will speak with Andy Hamilton, the owner of the Vancouver Legion. Andy, Lee Adama, your selection, break it down for us.
Yeah, we got our guy. Lee is a great contributor in terms of our coaching staff. Lee wants to get into coaching in the SFL, and what better opportunity than to jump on our staff where we have a mix of new and veteran guys where we're trying to get people involved. Also, he comes from a team in Denver that, I don't know if you guys remember, are coming off a championship, so he knows what type of locker room has a winning atmosphere, as well as max value. So we really just hit on all the things we were trying to get, Mike, in terms of a star player early in this draft, and I think we hit a home run.
A nasty habit, I want to call it, of drafting all of the people on the broadcast team, which makes it insanely difficult to schedule people to actually call your games. With the selection of Lee Adama, you did not pick somebody from the broadcast team. Does this maybe signal an end to your awful habit?
I love the intrigue, Mike. I'm glad you're paying attention to who we're drafting. The one thing I would say is there's 2 rounds left. There's plenty of people still to take, and who knows whether it's Lee or someone else. I'm always looking for people who are involved in the league to be on my team, whether it's the broadcast team, the stats team, or the beat team.
Absolutely. And Andy, talk about just a little bit. You You talk about that value, the draft value. How important is it to you for somebody to have a lot of check-ins versus the importance of what they're doing in the league? Is it more important to you to have someone that just seems like, they'll get all the progression in, they get all their check-ins in, or are you looking for somebody that gets involved in the beat writing team and the stats team and wants to do more?
Very good question. For me, I think it's a mix of all of them. Obviously, the personality has to fit with the team, but in terms of check-ins, we're looking for the most amount of value that we can put on our team while also contributing to the league or our team in the best way. So Lee not only wants to help out with the team, but also has been here since he could start banking progressions and has not missed a week since then. So he's going to give our team an advantage on that defensive line as well as in the coaching room. So he's going to do both of those things for us, so it fits really well. But when you talk about rookies in general, I think the more value that you can get, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. Now, I know one of the things that you love to do as an owner before you get your pick announced is to talk to them on the phone. Did you get a chance to talk to Lee?
I didn't. I had our GM, Charles, give him a call, and it sounded like he was in high spirits and really excited to be a part of the Legion. And I've spoken to our locker room a little bit. They're excited that we got our guy.
All right, absolutely. Sounds great. Congratulations on your selection. When we come back, London will make their pick at 7. You're watching the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show on 11 Sports and For the Fans. And welcome back to the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show. London has made their selection. We will turn it back over to Cameron Irvine, the commissioner, at the podium to announce London's selection.
With the 7th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the London Knights select Matthew Braun, defensive end. The 8th pick is Queen City. You're on the clock.
All right, so Matthew Braun, defensive end, is the selection for London. Andrew Rastelli and company, take it away. Break down that pick for us.
Thanks, Mike. So the 3rd defensive end off the board. We now have all but 2 picks being on defense. We were talking earlier about how London was probably going to go with defense on this pick. Andy, you had Matthew Braun as a member of your team during last season. So tell us, how do you feel about this pick?
I think it's a great pick for London. They have a lot of opportunity on that defense for a lot of young guys to get in there and make a difference, and I think Matthew is a good fit for them. He was really active in the locker room in Vancouver, was really a positive presence while he was there, and I think for London, this is a good opportunity to put someone on that defensive line who's going to help make a difference. There was only one time last year, I believe, Andrew, that they gave up less than 20 points. So going to be important for them to try and stop opposing offenses, and getting to the passer is always one way to do that.
So now with London's pick off the board, we move on to Queen City, which is another question mark, as we were talking about before. Eddie, what do you think that Queen City is going to do with the 8th pick?
What couldn't they do?
They can't draft Mark again. So
What couldn't they do? As you alluded to, they only have 7 guys signed at this point. There are a number of them who are yet to sign, who they believe will be signed at some point once they get the draft situated. There's a number of places they could go. Running back maybe, wide receiver, I'm not sure, but right now they have 7 guys selected, and they're all on the defensive side of the ball, so they can go anywhere here. That's my guess. I'm guessing. There's speculation out there also about the quarterback position too, so who knows? I mean,
2 max value QBs still on the board.
Still on the board, including my guy Jet Zero, who I believe would be a franchise quarterback for any team.
all right. Thanks for the insight, guys. We're going to send it back to Dags at the desk.
All right, thanks, guys. So before we get into Queen City, Ray, let's talk about London's upcoming season. What are you expecting out of them?
Well, they've got the highest paid receiver in the league in Gabriel Manning. They've got Jason Williams as a gold halfback, yes, and Angus McLean under center. They're set on offense. They don't need anything else on offense. So this was the perfect pick for them. Having said that, Liam's offense last year went on a tear. Can he make his defense step up to that level? That's what I want to see from the Knights in this season. And with this pick, I think he's got the building blocks in place.
A couple of pieces coming over to London from San Francisco, Angus McLean and Gabriel Manning. Gabriel Manning, arguably one of the best kick returners ever. I mean, can the guy ever not get a kick return for a touchdown? You know how mad Jeffrey got throughout the season? My son, Jeffrey Daggs, kick returner from Mexico City. He was basically like in a little race to see who can get the most kick returns for touchdowns. And as soon as he would get another one, off it would go.
Manning would get 4 more.
Yeah, he'd get 4 more in a game. And it's, share the love. Man.
That's exactly why I picked him during my Pro Bowl that I coached, because I knew he was going to return a kick, and he did it. He did it.
So I'm going to send it back over to Andrew Rostelli. He's got another rookie on set with him that we'd like to hear from. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. I got Phoenix Jones here with me. Phoenix, thanks for making the trip out and being a part of this tonight. So you have, unlike Johnny, you have not been picked yet. So as a rookie who is still waiting for his phone call, what is kind of going through your mind? How do you want to break onto the scene in the SFL?
Well, in my experience with speaking with some of the owners and the managers, I basically have told them that, I'm a team player, team first. I'm looking to break in any way that I can. I'm flexible, so if I'm privileged to have my name called today, that'd be great. If not, there's 2 more rounds.
Is there any type of position that you're really scratching at the chance to get to play and see yourself on the screen?
So I played football in high school, and I play running back, wide receiver, and defensive back. So those are the 3 that I placed with my character. But I've spoken to other managers as well and said defensive end is fine, or I'll do anything. And I hope I don't offend any kickers. I just don't want to kick.
Well, as Andy told us earlier tonight, that that team mentality from a new guy that's coming into the league that we don't necessarily know, that goes a long way. So is there anything further in the league that you've ever thought about coaching, or maybe trying your hand at going head to head against one of the other guys in the league?
So yeah, my aspirations are to do all of that. So I've when I did the Who's Who interview with potentially another quarterback that may be drafted at some point, Jet Zero, he asked me some of those same questions, and I said the same thing. I want to be part in any way that I can be, whether it is broadcasting, whether it is stats, owning a team eventually. So I'm all for it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate you coming out. And we're going to send it back to you, Mike.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Phoenix Jones, welcome to the league. Appreciate you being here with us tonight. With that, Queen City has made their selection. We will send it back to the commissioner. He's at the podium to announce the Corsairs selection.
With the 8th pick in the Winter 2020 SFL Rookie Draft, the Queen City Corsairs select Jet Zero fullback, Albany, New York. The 9th pick goes to Las Vegas. You're on the clock.
All right, so Jet Zero fullback is the selection from Albany, New York, going to the team in Buffalo, New York. See, a lot of people confused by that. Queen City, a lot of them think is Carolina, but we already have a team in Carolina. Queen City is Buffalo, New York, for those of you who don't know that. If you ever go to the Buffalo airport, you will notice that there is the Queen City Cafe in the airport. So it's a legit thing, I'm telling you. It's, you know, Queen City is Buffalo, where Chris Curtis plays. So,
yeah.
You know, Chris, you surprised by fullback?
I mean, yes and no. As been alluded to, there's been a lot of questions about what Queen City's strategy was going into the offseason. I think this will help kind of solve a lot of those puzzle pieces. And as far as what they think is going to happen with the rest of the draft possibly, and also with who they have left to re-sign. So exciting, a little inquisitive scheme-wise. I'm curious as to what Eric and company have up their sleeve, and should be fun to watch.
Either way, he's your new teammate, Jet Zero, Queen City Corsair.
No, not yet.
We'll send it back over to Andrew Rostelli to break down the selection.
So, Eddie, fullback, that was definitely not on our radar over here. What do you think about taking a fullback at this stage in the draft?
I'm shocked. Fullback, first round, a guy with max value.
I love value.
Gotta love value. But I know he expressed himself, his desire to play quarterback. Obviously, that did not happen for him. But there's a lot of unknowns with Queen City right now because their roster isn't filled out yet. So I'm not quite sure what they plan on doing, but it's going to be interesting to follow, as I stated, pregame, so to speak, that no one knows exactly what they're doing, maybe except for this guy over here, Chris Curtis. But I'm shocked. I'm at a loss for words right now, them picking a fullback in the first round.
Man, and that's different, and that's difficult for you. Okay, so now we move on to Las Vegas is on the clock. Andy, where do you think Las Vegas is going to head?
Vegas is an interesting team, Andrew. They just brought in Stephen Mullinex to run their offense, and I'm very intrigued to see what he does with that offense. However, I think that Las Vegas is going to go defensive line with this pick. I think helping that front seven is going to be imperative to the Furies' season. It'll be really interesting to see, especially with the way that Stephen Mullinex handles that offense. But again, potentially another defensive pick. It just shows that there's a premium in this league right now, and it's defense.
That's exactly right. And like we've said, we've had quarterback, tight end, and fullback. That's our offensive picks. And then we've had defensive line and a linebacker. So, yeah, that's exactly the trend that we're seeing in this draft. So it'll be interesting to see where Las Vegas goes. They only have, I think, 4 more spots left on that team to fill. So they're going to be looking to really shore up some of the last-minute slots there. So let's head back to Mike at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. So, Mark, let's talk a little bit about Queen City's upcoming season. What do you see their season outlook being?
I'm in shock at this pick, just like Eddie was, but at the same time, I know everything Eric touches turns to gold. He's going to have no problem fitting him into his system and making it work. Queen City is a premier franchise in this league. They have 4 chips under their belt. I look like they're going to be in the playoffs again, no problem.
Maybe he's got some sort of secret that nobody else knows about how he's going to use Jet Zero, and it'll take the league by surprise. So, I mean, you talk about them being one of the premier franchises. That's where I started out with my user player, was as a tight end on Queen City. Then I realized that Chris Curtis was there. Off I went to Mexico City to get as far away as I possibly could get. And then they sit me side by side with them here at the draft. It's unbelievable. But, switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about a little bit about, what's exciting about being in the league and what makes this league so special. For me, it's some of the camaraderie. I joke with Chris, and it's nice that I'm able to do that. And we shared that season experience on Queen City, and we broadcast get together. We're on the broadcast team, and it's fantastic. For me, it's about meeting all these people from all around the country, people from all around the world, and being able to do something that otherwise you never would have been able to do anywhere else. Ray, what's it like for you in the league? What's exciting about it for you? You know what?
That's a
Let's
loaded
go to anybody
question.
else.
To talk about league excitement, I mean, what isn't exciting about the SFL? I mean, during the very last Pro Bowl, I fumbled and lost the ball and loved it. I loved it. It was the most amazing thing. It doesn't matter if you're up there playing lights out, or you just get that one play where you go, my stupid broken skull. It's seeing yourself in a place that you never thought you could see yourself. And with the community and everyone involved in it, it's magical. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Our quarterback, Matt Wilson, you talk about being able to do things that you would never be able to do anywhere else. For any of you who don't know, look around at some of the videos that we have, on the YouTube site, and you can find out more about the Simulation Football League on our website, simulationfl.net. You can learn a little bit about Matt Wilson's story. We saw the documentary about Colin Northrup and his issues that he has. Matt Wilson also is confined to a wheelchair, and we've been lifelong friends since, I think second grade we met, and growing up we would play football in the front yard, and that was back when Matt was still able to walk just a little bit. And it was a dream of ours to always be able to play on a team together, and it was something that, due to a tumor that was growing inside his spine, it was something that we could just physically never do. To hear games being called where Matt Wilson back to pass, going deep down the middle, Mike Daggs catches the ball, runs into the end zone, touchdown. It's something that I never thought we'd be able to experience. And that's one of the many, many things that the Simulation Football League can bring, for me and for anybody out there. Chris, before we get to the selection for Las Vegas, what is it that makes the SFL exciting for you?
It's the interaction between people, seeing everybody come together into one rather large community now, as there's been a major influx of community members over the last several seasons. But this thing has grown to a level, and for the most part, 99% of the people in the community are respectful. Everyone is after the same goal. They're after having fun in this league and seeing what potential they can grow to. It's a lot of fun to see, in my perspective as a player, as a broadcaster, being able to call somebody's name that wouldn't expect it or is looking forward to that particular moment. That's exciting for me. And then just seeing the interaction between the people in the chat, in the Discord channels, as I more lurk than interact. But it's a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely. So with that, Las Vegas has made their selection. We are going to turn it back over to Cameron Irvine. He's at the podium to announce Las Vegas's pick.
With the 9th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the Las Vegas Fury select, some drama, Ray, Reed Mitchell, fullback, Brunswick, Georgia. Sioux Falls, you're on the clock with the 10th pick.
So, Ray, you wanted drama. Sioux Falls, Las Vegas selects Reed Mitchell, fullback, back-to-back fullbacks.
We're up to 4 offensive positions in the draft, which before 10 picks, kind of amazing to me that we've gone mostly defense. But
Well, I don't know how else to transition that one over to Andrew Rosselli to get away from Ray. Andrew?
Let's go to Eddie Gage and Andy Hamilton. Andy, can you please give us your thoughts on another fullback pick that we're seeing in the top 10?
It's very intriguing. I'm interested because I've ran a fullback before on the offensive side, and it's very difficult to get them involved. And kudos to Mighty RX Max Paul for getting J.W. Doyle as involved as he did last season. I'm interested to see how these offenses integrate the fullback other than just blocking, because I think blocking obviously is very important for a fullback, but getting them the ball, getting them touches, and making them important as a weapon in the offense is something that I had trouble with. So I'm interested to see how they make that work, especially for so many teams. I think that's the intriguing part. every once in a while someone will take a flyer on a position you wouldn't expect, but for so many teams so early in this draft to go fullback, I'm really intrigued to see how that'll help.
All right, and Eddie, now we're moving on to Sioux Falls.
Yes.
They are at 10. So where do you think that Sioux Falls is probably going to make their move in this selection?
Fullback.
They don't have a fullback on their roster, but my guess here is defensive line. At either the defensive end or the defensive tackle position. They don't have a player on the defensive line. They're one of the few teams in the SFL to deploy 3 linebackers. So perhaps getting a guy on the defensive line to help push that line of scrimmage backwards and get those 3 linebackers even more involved with tackling and, pass rush and things of that nature. So kind of tricky, but because I don't think they've ever had a defensive lineman in the history of their franchise that I can think of.
I think Alex Parker played there.
Yeah, he was that defensive end for a little while, and he made the move.
The linebacker.
That's right.
But
he moved.
Might need to replace him at some point.
I guess, and now with the expanded roster size, perhaps they go to the defensive line, but we've been shocked already a few times, so we'll see.
Fullback.
All right, hopefully things have calmed down over there at the desk. Mike, why don't you take it back?
Yeah, thank you. We got Ray calmed down just a little bit, so we'll just let him sit down there for just a minute. So, Chris, Las Vegas' season outlook. What are you expecting from them this season?
Well, as far as the pick goes, I mean, I expected somebody from the offensive side of the ball. I expected somebody from the wide receiver position. We haven't seen anybody other than a quarterback taken from the skill positions on the offensive side of the ball, and ultimately, they were in a bunch of games. Their season was not necessarily completely out of reach for a lot of their tilts, and their defense is decent, still has some holes. Their offense has more holes, and this hopefully for them fills it. Be curious to see what they do with the rest of this draft. See where they go.
So, we're almost through 10 picks. No wide receivers taken. As a wide receiver yourself, does that surprise you?
It kind of does. Between wide receivers and running backs, I expected one of those 2 positions to be taken at this point in the draft, and we're halfway through the first round, and that hasn't happened yet. So that's surprising.
But yet 2 fullbacks selected.
2 fullbacks, yes, and a tight end.
You mentioned
looking at you for that.
You said no skill positions were taken, and it's like, you're saying we don't have skills? Clearly. Just saying. Mark, Las Vegas' season, what are you expecting to see out of them? How do you think they're going to utilize this fullback?
With their new addition and their new coach, Steven Mullinex, I expect them to take him in stride and employ all his skills and abilities on the field. That's what Steven does.
He does, except he doesn't really utilize the tight end the right way. So good thing he got out of Mexico City when he did. I'm looking at you, Steven. So, Mr. Ray Bentley, you had the honor and distinction of joining the Simulation Football League Hall of Fame. What is it like being in the SFL Hall of Fame?
Sorry, I got to put these on because stars shine too bright up here. I'll be honest. When I tell people that I had to fly to Atlanta to be inducted into a sports Hall of Fame, I usually get the laughs that Eddie Gage is giving me right now. But
he's losing it.
Yeah, absolutely. However, honestly, it's one of the biggest honors in my life. And to be completely serious about it, when I joined the league, I didn't know, if this was for me, if I really, was going to get into it. I found a great coach, a great team. They took me on, made me the worst running back in the whole league. Just awful. Yes, very much. I'm terrible. But somehow the community enjoyed my antics, and my coach got his stuff together, I think is the best way to put it. And season 9 happened, and it's just been a whirlwind from there. I say there are 2 things that have raised my confidence in my adult life. Number 1 is my wife. Number 2 is the SFL and getting to the Hall of Fame. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. It truly is an honor.
Thank you, Orb Father.
It is my pleasure.
So for your induction speech, I was not able to make it down to Atlanta that day for the speeches. I came down the next day to congratulate you. I hear You had some special attire on for your speech. Can you explain that? Because I missed it.
So we were told for the speech that we were supposed to wear church clothes.
Okay.
And that was the entire elaboration of what we needed to wear. And unfortunately, I own a non-liturgical Catholic priest robe that I found at Goodwill for $4. And so church clothes, I've got exactly that. And so I came in my Catholic finest.
Ray Bentley.
Hi.
Hall of Famer. With that, whatever that was, with that, Sioux Falls has made their selection. Let's go back to the podium. Commissioner Cameron Irvine hopefully can bring this back to some sort of professionalism. I'm not sure what's going on anymore. Cam, take it away.
With the 10th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the Sioux Falls Sparrows select James Kelly, defensive end, Little Rock, Arkansas. Houston has the 11th pick. You're on the clock.
All right, so the third defensive end is off the board. James Kelly is Sioux Falls' selection. I'm going to send it over to Andrew Rastelli to get the reaction on this pick.
Thanks, Mike. So the fourth defensive end has been taken off the board, and it went right exactly where you thought it would. Eddie, can you give us your impression on again, like this was obviously where you decided where you thought they were going to go. So was that the right decision?
Well, offense sells tickets, but as my coach used to say, defense wins games. And as you can see that, everyone's starting to listen to me finally and select all these defensive players here in this first round, as they should be. No receiver should be picked in the first round. It's just a travesty of justice. So to see these teams finally just start to fall in line and follow my lead, it's refreshing. So sure enough, the Sparrows here picked up a defensive end, added one to their roster to help, like I said earlier, talked about those three linebackers, push the line of scrimmage backwards and knock the quarterback on his lap several times a game is a sight that I like to see. So I'm proud of him for that pick.
All right, so we are halfway through the draft. Let's take a look back real quick. Andy, what do you think is your biggest surprise so far now that we're 50%?
Yeah, I would say the fullbacks, but also like Eddie was kind of saying, the impact of the defense moving forward. I think it's the right move for a lot of teams to shore up their defense, but I think for me, I look at it the other way. For the rookies that might be out there still not drafted, maybe recognizing and reevaluating some of the positions that they might be available to play and willing to play might go a long way towards rising their draft stock here, not only in tonight's draft, but also in rounds 2 and 3, where they might still be serviceable to a team at a position that they might not have considered before, because with defense being such a precedence and with the additional roster spots, having a tough defense that can slow down potentially some of the biggest offenses we've ever seen in SFL history, it's a premium right now, and it's very important.
So, Eddie, where do you think is the biggest storyline to come out of the first 10 picks?
There's a couple of them. Fullback being selected, a couple of times already. Mark Mello agreeing to move from kicker to defensive end and play for me. There's a number of stories out here. The tight end being selected in the first round, I didn't think I would see that happen, but it did. So.
The first live draftee being drafted in SFL history in the same building as the commissioner making the call.
Here to put his hat on and
that's
everything.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll send it back to the desk with Mike.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So, Chris, before we get into Sioux Falls' season outlook, did you hear him say that wide receivers should not be selected in the first round? Who is this guy?
I don't know. You saw me mouth it when he
I did.
came back. I don't know.
Wide receivers shouldn't be selected. Defense wins games. You got to put up points to win games. Anyway, Sioux Falls, their season outlook. What are you expecting to see from them?
Defense was their pick though for Sioux Falls. They had to. When you go into it, when you get out of a season where you gave up less than 20 or 28 points twice the entire season, you have to make a change on that side of the ball. So a defensive end going there does not surprise me. they had to shore up something because they were able to put up points in most cases. But their offense was put under a lot of undue pressure, and it caused a lot of friction on that offensive side of the ball. So I want to see a turnaround from Sioux Falls. I think the defensive end is a good start for that.
I think Sioux Falls beat Baltimore in an upset game last season, wasn't that?
Yeah, I think so, but that was also a very high-scoring game to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So, Mark, anything you're expecting to see out of James Kelly defensive end with Sioux Falls? What are you expecting from them this season?
They're going to need to get to the quarterback. Take some pressure off those linebackers in that secondary.
And Kelly will be able to help do that from that end spot.
Definitely.
Yeah, getting that pressure, that's how you force turnovers too. They don't have time to set up and throw. It's when things can go south. So, Ray, Sioux Falls season outlook, what are you thinking?
Look, Sioux Falls showed up and balled out at the Pro Bowl. So I think they've got the pieces in place to get back into the postseason, maybe make a deep run. I think this is a good start to it. I really do. So
they could be on the radar for one of the more improved teams next season.
When we played them last season, the first game, I was certain was going to Sioux Falls as well. So with that addition to defense, I don't want to play them. Nope, no, as it goes.
We love Matt Wilson, but he doesn't do well under pressure when he's got a defensive end bearing down on him.
The thing about Matt Wilson is he just likes to throw to every team sometimes.
It doesn't matter.
But I like to give the ball to every team sometimes, so it's kind of even.
And both your running back and your quarterback are colorblind.
Yeah, that is an issue. Ray, you mentioned the Pro Bowl. I just want to talk about that real quick. That was a game that was just played. A lot of people think Pro Bowl, it's not really that big a thing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you love the Pro Bowl, don't you?
I love it.
You were like super excited about the Pro Bowl.
Well, this is the first one I've ever actually won as a player. I had a streak of 2 losses that really I kind of wanted to extend, but unfortunately my coach, Andrew Rastelli, had other plans, which were beating the heck out of Cam. So it's so much fun to be on teams with, the people that you're playing against all season long. Like, I was getting handoffs, I believe, from Christian Christensen.
Indeed you were.
Who knocked us out of playoffs.
Indeed he did.
And I don't appreciate that, but I did appreciate the handoffs. And it's really something else to, get a bunch of disparate teammates together and have them make something. It's a ton of fun.
Thank you very much. Houston Hyenas have made their selection. Cameron Irvine, take it away.
With the 11th pick in the Winter 2020 SFL Rookie Draft, the Houston Hyenas select Jacob Clear, cornerback, Gosford, Australia. Tulsa, is on the clock with the 12th pick.
All right, so Jacob Clear, cornerback. I believe that is our first corner that's been selected in this draft. We'll send it over to Andrew Rastelli and his panel to break this pick down.
So we're going to go over to Andy first. I want to get your reaction here, Andy. Houston did lose their number 2 overall pick from last season, Aiden Davis, to free agency. So a cornerback pick here makes a lot of sense to join Everett Garrison in that secondary. How do you feel about this decision?
Yeah, they need to just shore up that defense, especially with losing their defensive coordinator, Eddie Gage, who's sitting to my right. Very important to have some weapons on that defensive side. They actually bring Clear back. He used to play for them when he first entered the league as a generic player, so now coming back to Houston to play as a cornerback. Good for him. I am intrigued a little bit. Did miss a couple check-ins. Doesn't have max value. When you look at the board, there are a lot of players above him who might have been able to play cornerback at full value. So I'm intrigued because I don't think it's necessarily a death wish for them. I think it's very interesting to see how they'll move forward with that. But I think Clear might have been around in the second round to potentially pick him at cornerback then.
So Tulsa on the clock.
Yes.
You have a couple of their former players and staff members on your team now. So maybe you have some insight. Eddie, where do you think that Tulsa is going to move with this next one?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have any insight, but they did also lose Give Ledoux, the Defensive Player of the Year. It's going to be hard to replace 20.5 sacks from one person, so I think they go defensive line here, perhaps defensive end to replace him. If not, maybe defensive tackle, but either of those 2 slots I see Tulsa taking to help
No fullback on this roster either, though.
No.
Could be the year of the fullback.
All right, sending it on back to Dags.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So, Chris, Houston's season outlook, what are you expecting to see from them? They started off a little slow.
Yeah.
And then they turned it around and made a very impressive push for the playoffs.
That they did.
Upset Ray quite a bit.
Yeah. With good reason. It was a Jekyll and Hyde season for them.
So what are you expecting next season?
Jekyll and Hyde season last season, I think they can ride some momentum. They just got to get out of their own way. That's where it is. Their offense, they have a decent offensive setup. It's a middle of the road offensive setup. Taking a spot here, I think, taking where they did here, I think they will be able to shore up some holes. I am really concerned though about long term for Houston. I think they need to work on the mentality of their club more than the skill positions of their club, because I think the attitude change could be in good spirits for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we send it back, you're just like chomping at the bit, Ray.
I gotta say, the biggest question for me, what is this defense gonna look like?
Mm-hmm.
We have Eddie Gage gone. He's got his team, the Scorpions.
Arizona Scorpions.
So with Houston picking a cornerback, and I mean, no shade or anything towards DeMond, I'm very interested to see what this defense is going to look like compared to last season, especially compared to that Cinderella run into the playoffs.
Well, Aiden Davis, who picked that last interception off to get them essentially into the playoffs, is now gone. He's not there anymore, so them replacing him makes sense here.
Oh, absolutely.
But they need to find a proven playmaker on that side of the ball now.
So we have another rookie in the house. Mike Improta is with Andrew Rostelli. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, it was really nice meeting you yesterday. I managed to welcome Ray and I on a nice pit stop in Rhode Island. And thanks for being here today. I know it wasn't as much of a drive as it was for me, but you know.
Yeah, sure.
So you are looking to make your impact in the league as you join up. You've been here 2 months, I think, or so. And so where do you see yourself heading in the SFL? What is kind of like your goal to be in this league?
My goal is really just to follow in the footsteps of everybody here that's laid the foundation. And if I'm lucky enough, maybe I can sit next to the side of a Hall of Famer and make my speech like Ray Bentley one day. But really, it's just to come in, really learn the game, understand when I get picked, what the team needs are, and really what I can do to help them get to the championship and really make it a great experience for everybody.
So do you have any previous football knowledge? Did you play previously in your life, or is it just kind of pickup game?
I've never played 1 second of football in my life. But that's the great thing about the SFL. Anybody can come in, anybody can be a superstar, anybody can #make an impact, and that's what I'm looking to do.
So speaking of making an impact, are there any particular positions that you want your player to kind of make that impact?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say that really to make the impact here, you have to be flexible, and that's certainly the truth. I really had my heart set on playing in the backfield. As I mentioned to A.J. Stryker on the podcast, my 2 favorite players growing up was always Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett. And if I could find a way to make a player where they could become someone like me, then I'd be totally cool with that. But really, overall, I'm happy to play anywhere. I'm happy to help the team, and I'm happy to do whatever I can to, like I said, make it a great experience for everybody.
So I know that you're a Patriots fan, and you're used to that winning culture, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about joining a team that maybe has to pull themselves up from their bootstraps and not be able to make it to the playoffs every year of a decade?
Well, not everybody can be great like the New England Patriots, but we're certainly going to try. We're certainly going to try. But that's the whole thing about getting involved with the league, getting involved with your team, making sure that you're there to contribute in any way you can, whether it's on the beat team, whether it's on the broadcast team or doing stats. I think everything that you can do in a positive manner to help the team grow and help your team and the league get stronger, it's going to give that feeling that, any team that I'm playing for always has a chance to make it to the championship.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mike. Really appreciate you. And we're going to send it on back to Mike at the desk.
Go Bills. With that being said, let's get back to SFL-related business. Cameron Irvine's at the podium to announce Tulsa's selection.
With the 12th pick in the Winter 2020 SFL Rookie Draft, the Tulsa Desperados select Berto Demora, defensive end, Milford, Massachusetts. The Chicago Wildcats are on the clock with the 13th selection.
So a local pick right here from Massachusetts, Berto Demora. Mark, before we send it back to the other panel for the reactions, that is now 4 defensive ends off the board. Are you surprised about the basically a run on defensive ends? It's been a third of the draft so far, or is that what you would kind of expect to see?
I definitely would expect to see it. Not surprised by this at all. With us expanding rosters to 17, opened up a lot of coaches' eyes from the trends they've been seeing with defensive lines in the past 2 seasons and the success they've been having. So I'm all in on everybody taking these defensive players off the board.
Get that pass rush on. So with that, let's send it back over to Andrew Rustelli and his panel to break down this selection.
All right, so I'm going to take it over to Eddie, who seems to be on a roll here. So let's go back to Tulsa, making that defensive line pick that you thought they were going to do. Do you think that Berto is going to be able to fill Gibbs' shoes?
I don't think anyone can fill Gibbs' shoes, especially their rookie season. He obviously has to progress. I believe he had, 9 weeks banked or something along that effect. So he has some work to do. But if anyone can get it done, it'd be Tulsa. They found a way to get Gibbs going at 20.5 sacks this past season. And I believe they had Red Sawyer the year before that, or a couple years before that. So if anyone can do it, it'd be Tulsa to get the job done and get him to progress and moving along to get him where he needs to be.
And that's a good point that Rhett was there. So they have this culture of these defensive ends or defensive linemen that they have drafted that have turned into major playmakers at that position. So next is Chicago, Andy. Owner Shan Varner, good friend of yours. You worked with him for 3 seasons over in Carolina.
Yes, sir.
So where do you think Carolina is going to make this move?
Well, Andrew, I've never played violin, but I know that Shan Varner has played this draft like a fiddle because he's got his guy falling right down to him, and I'm very intrigued. I won't ruin anything because I did happen to talk to Shan yesterday. I know that he's going to be looking on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to be looking to help his run game with this decision. And he's going to be making a good pick. In terms of value, which I think is another interesting point when you talk about the last pick, there are a lot of guys at the top of the board who are still available, who are open to some of these positions. So I'm interested to see. I know where Shan would like to go. So unless anything has changed in the last 24 hours, I think we're going to see an offensive pick here. But I don't know. Might continue with some of the trends we've seen so far tonight.
All right. Well, we're going to send it on back to Dags.
So I'm just sitting here picturing Shan Varner playing a fiddle with a bag of boiled peanuts next to him, just going away. I can't get that out of my head.
That's more humorous than it should be.
My goodness.
How does he eat the peanuts while he's playing the fiddle?
He's that good, man.
It's magical.
He's that
It's
good.
amazing.
So, Ray, Tulsa's season outlook, what are you expecting to see from them?
So, again, Mr. Eddie Gage has taken Tulsa's previous quarterback, Ashley Jackson, but now they have Deacon Nickens. So, I think it's going to be an interesting rebuild season for Tulsa. I think might be a good way to put it. They snuck into the playoffs this last year at 6-6, and a lot of their games where I think we've used the phrase Jekyll and Hyde once already. They really could go either way. There was the one at the convention that everyone lost their minds over with that. And I'm sorry for Tulsa that interception towards the end that basically sealed it for them. But I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this. But with so many pieces having moved around, it's a big old question mark to me. Lots of questions.
Absolutely. So, Mark, the schedule for the next upcoming season, is there anything that you, as the owner of Atlanta, is there anything you're looking forward to the most for your team, or something on the schedule that just kind of drew your eye that you're like, that's the thing that's most exciting? What are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to week 12.
12. This is very specific.
The last game of the season.
Okay.
My schedule is not too favoring. But
so you already want the season to be done.
Yeah.
just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Let's just You know,
Nah,
we're
week
talking about
one.
the season preview show, and Mark's like, let's get over with it.
He's ready for the review show.
Yeah.
On the
ready
season
for the next
15.
season. Week one, we play Vegas, and we have one of the top 10 SFL games voted by the people with Vegas last season, and looking forward to rekindling that matchup with them, with their new OC and head coach.
All right, this sounds good. So from what I'm told, Shan Varner has finished playing the fiddle and has made the pick. The pick is in. We'll go back to the podium. Commissioner Cameron Irvine, take it away.
With the 13th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the Chicago Wildcats select Mike Improta, fullback, Providence, Rhode Island. Come on up, Mike. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
All right, so Mike Improta is the selection, our second ever selection right here in-house, being able to see him on camera. It's a great honor for him. We will send it back over to Andrew Stelly to break down this pick.
All right, so obviously we got to go back to Andy. Was that the guy?
We're fiddle playing here. We're fiddle playing, Andrew. Yeah, that was the pick. And I think Improta's a really good product for this Chicago team, not only on the field, but off the field. I think in the locker room, he's going to make such a positive impact for the Wildcats. You know, really be one of those franchise players that's going to help this team get to the next level. Their schedule is looking favorable this year, Andrew. I think there might be some orange and black potentially in the championship. And I'm not talking about Arizona here.
Oh, man. All right, well, let's take it over to Eddie. We got Atlanta up next. What do you think that Atlanta is going to do with that with their next pick?
Atlanta has one of the league's better offenses, one of the league's better passing games. So I'm going to lean toward the defensive side of the ball and assume that they're going to give Jason Williams some help over there on the defensive line. They're going to pick up a defensive end, I believe, with this pick.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one tonight.
I'm looking at his reaction now as I say that, and he has a ghost face, so a poker face, so I'm not sure. But I'm guessing defensive end.
All right, so that would make the 6th defensive end taken in the draft if that were to be the case. So let's go back to Dags and see how you guys think about this.
So I don't think I've ever seen Mark without a poker face on. You know, that's his just natural face. So it's kind of fun. One of the fun things about being able to do this draft live in studio, is we've got a few team owners on hand that we've already seen, make their selections, and Mark just making his selection now, and getting to see them do their thing, working the phone, and sure, it's a controllerless esports community here at the Simulation Football League, and people think, well, they're not really making phone calls. I'm telling you, they're making phone calls, and they're looking to see who they want to pick, and it doesn't always work out the way that they want it to. They might have their eye on a guy, and then suddenly the team before him takes it, and it throws everything into a flux. So, but getting back to Chicago real quick, Chris Curtis, what are you expecting to see out of the Wildcat season?
Well, they are loading again for a possible run. They were very, very close a season ago, and really a couple bounces one way or the other kind of stopped their playoff run before it got started. And they remember coming out of the Queen City game late in the season, they were that close. I mean, there were multiple people who thought, including myself, that thought that was a championship caliber team at that point. Them adding Mike, I think, kind of shores up the run game, which they needed. I like where that team is headed, and I think they can make a deep run.
Atlanta is on the clock. We'll see what Mark Chisholm and the Swarm decide to do with the 14th pick. Coming up next, you're watching the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show on 11 Sports and FTF. Stay with us. We are back for the SFL rookie draft. The pick for the Atlanta Swarm is in. We'll turn it over to Cameron Irvine at the podium. Cam, who did they pick?
With the 14th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the Atlanta Swarm select Dave Axis, wide receiver, Knoxville, Tennessee. The Florida Storm are on the clock at pick 15.
All right, so Dave Axis is the selection, wide receiver. Mark, he's the first wide receiver taken in the draft. Is that somebody you had your eye on this whole time, or did you have to reshuffle some things? Talk to us about your pick.
I met Dave when he found the league. I was the first person to welcome him in the Discord chat, and we hit it off. And we've become good friends over the past couple of weeks he's been here and been part of the league. And I knew I could use him at the position that he wanted first, and he'd be a great fit for our offense.
You know, and we haven't seen a wide receiver taken yet, and you've been talking about, you know, these defensive ends and the defense. Was that all a ruse? Just to try to, you know, make people think, gosh, you know, Mark's taking a defensive end, we better get ours now, and all the while you've been looking for Dave Axis wide receiver? Or what's the story?
Definitely. I've been trying to throw everyone off since with our fiasco we had last season. With our pick being swiped from under us. So, yeah, I kept a hush-hush and knew that wide receiver was where we were going the whole time, speaking to my GM about it, and it all came together beautifully tonight.
So in Atlanta's history, I know there's been some wide receivers that have been some big names in the league. Are you expecting Dave Axis to be that next big name coming out of the Atlanta Swarm?
Dave is excited to be here. He is very enthusiastic, great guy. He's going to fit in great in our locker room, and I expect big things from him forward.
I got to say, with you having said so much about defense, I feel like there's fiddle music coming from this desk. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like it's in Chicago anymore. It's traveled south.
So Florida is on the clock right now, a team that has quite the history in the league, you know, formerly of Alaska, the Alaska Storm, now becoming the Florida Storm. Chris, you know, as a broadcaster, how hard is it going to be for you to not call them the Alaska Storm all season long?
It'll be difficult. It'll be 100%
Same logo. I mean, we're going to see it, and it's like, it's Alaska.
Yeah, and especially with the same logo.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's going to screw you up. It's going to screw me up. It's going to screw Andy up. It's going to screw everybody else in the broadcast team up. There's no doubt about it.
Max, I apologize in advance.
Yeah,
it's happening.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah, you changed climates, but you didn't change logos. That's going to be a thing.
So, at risk of the fact that Mark is sitting right next to you, what are you expecting to see out of Atlanta's season? And if you want to slide over so he doesn't.
No, I've got confidence in Atlanta. They made some really good strides last season, and them adding another wide receiver talent, especially one who looks like he's all in, I think is a really good move for them. Atlanta doing good, I think, is good for the league. I really like it when the Swarm are winning games, and they were not so much a couple seasons ago. So I like where they're at. I think they may continue to strive forward.
All right, well, with that, the pick is in. The Florida Storm have made their selection. Cameron Irvine, take it away.
With the 15th pick in the Winter 2020 SFL Rookie Draft, the Florida Storm select Alessandro Tomaello, defensive end, Venice, Italy. Mexico City are on the clock with the 16th pick.
Tomaello is the selection. We'll turn it over to Andrew Stelly, Eddie Gage, and Andy Hamilton to break it down for us.
Thanks, Mike. So Eddie, how do you feel about the big guy Mighty making his pick? Is it unnerving when
for quarterbacks?
For quarterbacks, yeah. In my opinion, thus far, Max Paul has the steal of the draft. To get a guy of this much value, 15 picks in, that's unprecedented, I believe. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot owners, GMs, and things of that nature went towards more so the camaraderie and, relationship they may have built with other players that they drafted. But, man, it's hard to pass up, in my opinion, max value guys. And it's been done several times already. There's a trend going on, apparently, and Mighty has, once again, struck gold, 15 picks in. So, and I have to play him this season. So I have to get my quarterback ready when I play him.
All right, so Andy, next on the clock, Mexico City.
Yeah.
You have some history. How do you feel that?
Hard feelings.
Where do you feel that they're gonna go with their selection?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. I'm sure they would prefer to replace their running back and tight end if they could, but unfortunately, they have already signed those today. Only kidding, for those of you who are at home. I think they're going to go defense with this pick. I think they have some opportunity either on the defensive line, linebacker, or potentially another free safety that could add to that team. I think the linebacking and defensive line rooms might be ones to kind of pinpoint with this pick. I think it would be interesting to help them stop some of the rushing attacks in the league that we see nowadays. There's still a lot of value on this board. And just like Mighty, Mexico City has a chance to make quite the steal here late in this draft. I think we could see another defensive lineman off the board right here.
All right, well, with more talk about Mexico City, we'll take it back over to Mike over at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. So, Ray, the former Alaska, now Florida Storm.
Not confusing at all.
Not confusing at all, no. They're relatively close by, opposite sides of the continent.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump.
So they just added a defensive end. They have Alex Dominguez that has just terrorized Matt Wilson forever. He's going back to defensive end. What are you thinking?
Well, see, we were just talking earlier today that Big Sexy didn't have a pair. He didn't have somebody matching him on the other end, so I think this is a perfect pick. As much as I hate to say that, and Lord, do I ever, I think with Dominguez moving back to the end, pairing him up with a rookie that, he can kind of mentor and help grow in that role. I really do think absolutely stellar pick.
All right. So, Chris, Mexico City is on the clock right now. Looking at their season, the team has had a change at offensive coordinator. Stephen Molinex had come in and just lit a fire under that offense last season. Yeah. And one season in, one season out, now they're back to how they were the season before, maybe, perhaps. What are you expecting to see out of Mexico City this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, the way they were the season before, they're still going to be Mexico City. They're still going to be there when the chips fall. Offensively, they absolutely lit the elite on fire last season. There's no doubt about that. And in present company excluded, there was a lot of people helping on that particular avenue, tight ends and all. That being said, I am thinking defensive is where they go here. And ultimately, because they're fine on offense, they're staffed pretty well. I think they stick to the defensive side of the ball and continue the trend that we've been seeing in this first round.
You say, maybe present company was excluded in helping. I blocked for Ray Bentley. Somebody had.
How many times?
To be fair, you could have stuck a traffic cone out there and Ray Bentley still would have been able to make it happen.
So many times. Anyway, so Mexico City's pick is in, so the wait is over. We'll turn it back over to the commissioner at the podium to find out who the Aztecs are adding to their roster.
With the 16th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select Phoenix Jones, fullback. Come on up, Phoenix. The Jacksonville Kings are on the clock.
All right, so Phoenix Jones, welcome to the Mexico City Aztecs.
Welcome.
Absolutely. So we've got Phoenix Jones on the roster now. We'll send it over to Andrew Rosselli to break down the pick.
All right, so I believe that is 4 fullbacks off the board.
Yeah.
The second most popular position of the night.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to you, Andy. How do you think that fullback is going to fit in this Aztec offense?
Yeah, fullbacks sounds like the new running back, Andrew. Running back is out, fullback is in. The sleek and new running back. It'll be interesting. Like I said last time we had a fullback picked, I've had a fullback on my team before. And I think the best fullbacks that we've seen, J.W. Doyle is one of the most recent that comes to mind. They thrive when there is not a running back in the system. Now, that kind of changes a little bit when you add a running back like Ray Bentley to the fold. How do defenses prepare to attack both? How does defenses prepare when you add an extra blocker to the Mike Daggs situation? When you add the fullback and the tight end in as one, could create some additional lanes. I think this just shows that Mexico City is committing to the run, and they're committed to making that work. And I think pick-wise, Phoenix Jones is a good choice.
All right, so Eddie, we're going to go over to you. Jacksonville, formerly of Tallahassee, on the clock. Where do you think that they're going to head?
Jacksonville spent a lot of money on offense. Their 3 receivers are all highly paid. So I don't think they're going on that side of the ball. I think they go defense here, perhaps on the line. They only have 1 defensive tackle, so I think they go there. Maybe even linebacker. They need someone to stop their offense from being a shootout when they play on television. So I'm thinking defense here, front 7.
They do call them Saxonville for the NFL franchise, so you never know. It might bring that to the Kings as well.
Might come to fruition.
All right, well, you've been right the last few times that you've made that defensive call. So
exactly.
We're going to send it on back to Daggs.
Thanks, Andrew. So at the podium is Commissioner Cameron Irvine to talk a little bit about a player that we have in-house today that was drafted back in the past.
Yeah, Mark Chisholm, actually the only one on the panel here tonight that has been drafted in a previous draft. Mark, what was it like for you to get drafted?
It was a great experience. Nothing like it is now. There was no Discord, no chats going on back then when I got drafted in season 6. But the same excitement, the anxiety you felt leading up to it. When I heard my name on YouTube, got called by Queen City at number 8, I was jumping through the roof, man. I was excited. I was running around my living room. My kids were shouting. They were happy and excited for me, and it was a great experience.
Back around the time Chisholm's player was drafted, the SFL was making headlines as a documentary about the league's beginnings, A New Frontier, was released in 2016. The Emmy Award-winning filmmaker ended up becoming the team owner of Jacksonville, and while Gooden and his staff are on the clock, let's take a listen to what he had to say about the SFL's story then and what it's grown into now.
It's first of all, it's leaps and bounds how the SFL has grown, and it's just been exciting from my standpoint. Like you said, someone from the standpoint of a filmmaker who created a documentary, you look at things in terms of stories. And so when I try to break down, our story, the story of the SFL into, what jumps out, say from then to now, it's about a few different things. You look at the stories of what this is and what it's become, how it has evolved of the SFL, an opportunity for people to sort of live through a digital creation of themselves, have themselves represented in an actual sporting contest where they can root for themselves and have other people root for them, where they are the focus of it, as opposed to, say, an outside entity. So you've got that rooting interest, and to see how that has grown and evolved from then to there, it's just an amazing story that should be told, and that's how I think about it. So the growth, I'm just really happy to see that. It's a mini miracle. The SFL is a mini miracle, what has happened. It's not the kind of thing that you can go out in front of and anticipate. So it's one of those stories that is worth telling because of how unique the SFL is, all of the different aspects of the SFL, and how they come together and how they've come together successfully. There's no way that anybody back in, I joined the SFL in season 5, and then prior, there's no way anybody, and I was in the 2015. So I joined the SFL in season 5 in the year 2015. The SFL had 4 seasons prior to when I came on. And even at the time that I came on, there was no way we could anticipate the way that this story would progress and the kind of success that we're having just by being dedicated to the SFL and what it stands for and the product it has. So it's a mini miracle. And again, it's the kind of story that I am happy to be a part of, blessed to be a part of, and it's one that, you know, hopefully I get to help in telling once we get to the point where we can actually kind of create something that we can say, well, where did it come from? I'm going to be a part of that. It's an absolutely unique story.
With the 17th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the Jacksonville Kings select Succo Lamano, strong safety, Austin, Texas. The Baltimore Vultures are on the clock with the 18th pick.
All right, so the first safety is taken in the draft. Andrew Rostelli and company, break it down for us.
All right, so Eddie, Jacksonville now joins Florida as the 2 teams that have 2 strong safeties, which is a choice that we usually don't see in the SFL. So how do you feel about this pick? They've picked up someone else to join Alex Bond at that position.
They did probably help take away from all those necessary tackles he needs to make. But I don't know. I'm trying to see how they're going to use them. I mean, what kind of defensive scheme are they going to employ? Are they going to have a base defense or, you know, I'm trying to see. I'm just picturing my head right now when the pick came across, you know, what fronts are they going to use, like a 3-3, 3-4, 4 over? I'm not sure. Maybe even a 4 under. It's going to be interesting to see how they deploy 2 strong safeties, but their roster was
safeties.
Yes. I mean, their roster was pretty stacked already, but they didn't have too many needs that I saw. The only thing that was glaring that they didn't have a kicker, but not saying it's necessarily necessary, but wow, I mean, 2 free safeties, 2 strong safeties. Perhaps they're looking at depth at that, you know, in the backfield. So that's another team that I'll be keeping my eye on this season.
So Succo did play for the team during the season in generic role.
Yeah.
And so he managed to fall to them. So it looks like they went back for their guy, which, you know, great for them. But yeah, you're looking at a team that now has 6 defensive backs, which is just something you never see.
Never see.
So so that'll be interesting. So now we have Baltimore on the clock. Andy, where do you think that Baltimore, this is their last roster spot?
Yep.
Where do they go?
Well, we had the meeting a while ago to discuss where teams might pick, and literally all I have written down for Baltimore is wide receiver. So I don't have their roster memorized as much as I probably should, but I'm going to go with what I wrote down earlier because past Andy seems like a smart fellow, and receiver it is for me.
All right. Well, we'll send it on back to Dags.
One last break in the action. 3 more picks to go. Who will get the last spots in the first round? Baltimore decides first at 18. You're watching the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show on 11 Sports and FTF. Welcome back to the SFL Rookie Draft and Season Preview Show. The pick is in for Baltimore. We'll send it back to the podium, Commissioner Cameron Irvine, to announce the selection.
With the 18th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 Rookie Draft, the Baltimore Vultures select Mac Chima, wide receiver, Washington, D.C. The Seattle Tyrants are on the clock at pick 19.
So the second receiver is taken, and I almost hate to send it back to Andy Hamilton because he was right, and there's nothing Andy likes to do more than tell everybody how he was right. But reluctantly, Andrew Rostelli and your panel, break it down for us.
All right, Andy called it that third wide receiver that they were looking for. Probably going to be really effective in the kick return game.
Yep.
So did they get the guy that they needed? Chima was on the team during the season.
Right.
So it looks like they went back and they got their guy.
Yeah, which no man left behind in the SFL. You know, it's very important. Once you get a guy in your locker room, if you gel with him and, you know, really think that he could be a big part of your franchise moving forward, it's never the wrong pick to go back and get him. And I think that's one thing, not only for the rookies at home who may not be drafted, but also for anyone watching who's not currently in the league. You know, you can hop in right now and get to know some of these owners for future drafts and for this upcoming season. So lots of opportunity, but I think for Baltimore's sake, they did get a good guy here to pair with Bishop Warfield and Daley Holder. You know, Vultures are ready to go again.
All right. So Seattle on the clock here. They have 2 roster spots left. Where do you think they're gonna try and fill up?
The obvious answer is corner. Iverson Gamble is their only star contract corner right now. To me, that's the only move to make. If they want to get back to the playoffs and continue that run, they have a tougher schedule this coming season than they did this previous season. They're going to need some help to give him on the other side to cover the wide receiver and the Z. So, in my opinion, cornerback is the obvious choice to go in the first round.
All right, so we're going to head on back to Dags.
Thanks, Andrew. So, Mark, looking at Baltimore's season, they just added Mac Chima, wide receiver. What are you expecting to see out of Baltimore this upcoming season for him?
Baltimore is going to do what Baltimore does. They're going to have the same success they continue to always have. TJ runs a phenomenal franchise over there, and he's able to get production out of all his players, and they all follow him. He's going to light up the scoreboard, and he's going to play solid defense. I expect to see them in the later tier of the playoffs again and possibly getting over the hump finally this season.
Yeah, maybe take a little bit of pressure off T-Roy Gaines, the running back for Baltimore. Yeah. You know, there's been some games where I know T-Roy has gotten frustrated because, you know, defenses are able to kind of stack the box and try to stop him. Now with another offensive wide receiver, you know, position, could make it even more of a challenge. So the pick is in for Seattle. So we're going to get right back to the podium with Commissioner Cameron Irvine to announce the selection for the Tyrants.
The 19th pick in the 2020 SFL Winter 2020 SFL Rookie Draft, the Seattle Tyrants select Ray Zor, cornerback, Fullerton, California. The defending champion Denver Nightwings on the clock at pick 20.
All right, so the pick has been made. Andrew Rostelli, we'll turn it back over to you to break down the selection.
All right, so Eddie called it. They're going corner.
Yep.
Seattle, we know, is real heavy into their culture, real heavy into making sure that they get the absolutely right person to go into that locker room. So with the pickup of that corner, do you feel like they got the right guy?
Absolutely. Cornerback was the way to go. They got a good guy. I haven't seen him in chat as much as everyone else has, maybe, but obviously they've been in communication with him to feel solid about making that pick. So absolutely, they got the right pick in at the right position, and I look forward to seeing Seattle back in a playoff hunt, despite their tough schedule.
All right, and Andy, we are now here at the last pick, champion Denver Nightwings on the clock. Where do you think that owner Jeremy Vega is going to go with this?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think Denver had a lot of players after the season decide that they were going to hang the cleats up, and I think that's an interesting thing that Denver is going to have to adjust to in this offseason. I think tight end is a big spot that they haven't filled yet. With some of their players leaving from that tight end position from their championship run, replacing that position to keep kind of the status quo of the Denver Nightwings is going to be important for them. And I think that's a position that they might go here in order to kind of keep the team and the core together.
All right, and we saw what they did last season with their tight end. So that would be a great move for them to go back and backfill that position and make that just as effective to make their next run. So we're going to head on back to the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. So talking about the upcoming season for Seattle, they just added to their defense. Chris, what are you expecting to see out of the Tyrants this season?
The Tyrants, I mean, yeah, I like the pick. Corner was the correct choice there. What I was considering, though, is their inability to separate themselves by more than one, maybe 1.5 possessions from their opponents. I think this is a team that really you could call it a Cinderella run. But they need to try to put more points on the board too, and make more stops when it matters. Get more separation from teams they're playing, because ultimately, this is my team that I think could actually take a step down this season if they're not able to separate themselves. Because I mean, ultimately, those bounces are going to go the other way, and they were the beneficiary of a lot of those this last season.
Ray, the Denver Nightwings are on the clock right now. Final pick here in the first round. Won the championship.
Won the championship, and then the coach retired.
Here comes your drama.
So and again, I mean no offense when I say this. I feel that Denver is going to be our next Mexico City. I think they won their championship. They're going back to the playoffs. But without Jeremy Vega's guiding hand, are they going to push all the way to the end? Especially not knowing their pick right now, it's hard for me to tell. I'd like to see a deep run from them, but will Jeremy have to step back in at some point and go, hold on, guys, let's see what we're going to do.
Championship schedule too.
Yeah, they've got a tough schedule.
And that's one of the things that happens, right? You win the championship and
they stack the box against you.
Right. Now all of a sudden maybe your schedule gets a little bit tougher along the way. So, speaking of the championship, maybe let's just quick run through some championship predictions. It's not going to be Denver, you think? So who are you looking at?
I'm going to be that guy and go with the safe, easy, obvious pick, to me at least, Baltimore. It's their time. They've gone so far in the seasons that they've been back, and really the loss against Seattle in this postseason. I mean, you said it earlier. You bounce one way or the other.
Coin flip.
And they're in the championship. It's Baltimore's time. It's time for the Vultures to fly. Much as I want to say Mexico City, it's got to be Baltimore.
Mark, thoughts? Championship.
Let's see. Let's go with Chicago. I'm taking
Wildcats, huh? All that
Wildcats. My boy Shan. I know what he's capable of, and he's got a very favorable schedule this coming up season. So I can see Chicago back in the championship game this year.
Chris?
Jacksonville. I got to go Jacksonville. They've got the 6 DBs as mentioned. I think their defense is going to be well shored up. They've got Christensen still throwing the ball. I really like that team, and they're eventually going to get over the hump as well. And they were victimized by Alaska a couple of seasons in a row, and I like Jacksonville to get over that hump, as of course they're coming from Tallahassee.
All right. Well, with that, our final pick of the night is in. The Denver Nightwings have made their selection for one final time. We'll turn it back over to Cameron Irvine at the podium to announce the pick.
With the 20th pick in the SFL Winter 2020 rookie draft, the Denver Nightwings select Nick Kindler, cornerback, Covington, Louisiana. This concludes round 1 of the SFL rookie draft. Rounds 2 and 3 will air live at twitch.tv/simulationfl Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. I'd like to thank the cameramen, graphics, audio, and video departments, FTF, and SFL staff, and all our league staff, analysts, and rookies that participated in tonight's show. The SFL asks how you will #make an impact. We hope we made an impact on your evening tonight. Good night. We'll see you on the field in January, where it will be once again time to kick it.
All right, thanks, Kim. Final thoughts from the panel?
What a night. I didn't get as much drama as I wanted, but I'm not going to scream again.
Well, that's good. That's good. Let's move on from you. Mark, final thoughts?
We made our pick.
There you go.
That's a good thought.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I got to see some really happy faces that were in the building with us as they got picked. So that was really cool. And got a little bit of got to give a little bit of grief to the guys in the room that I usually get to give on headset. So.
Absolutely. Final thoughts from me, Matt Wilson. Wish you could have been here. Love you, bud. Send it over to Andrew Rostelli. Close us out.
Eddie, what are your final thoughts on this draft?
The rich get richer. Max Paul picking up Alessandro with max value to play as a defensive end on a defensive-minded guy. He doesn't play as aggressive as I would like him to, but I can't argue with the results. I believe by far he's gotten the steal of the draft. Jacksonville with those 6 DBs, in a way, it kind of makes them one-dimensional if they plan on getting them all on the field, which could be a good thing for an offensive coordinator who knows how to combat it. But at the same time, don't get behind because it could be a matchup nightmare in those situations. So I'm going to be watching them closely.
Andy?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, real quick, final thoughts?
I'm with Eddie here. I think the two teams in Florida really made some moves tonight that are going to make them stand out. I think Alessandro might have been the steal of the draft, and I really think across from Big Sexy, the two of them are really, really going to be a threat for offenses. And then at the same time, Jacksonville with the 6 DBs really intrigues me with the dime formations that they're going to be using there. I'm interested to see how this season plays out, but I'm more interested, Andrew, in the next 2 rounds to see where some of these teams fill up some of the spots that they did not get tonight. And how many more fullbacks do we see through the next 2 rounds? It's the year of the fullback.
All righty. All right, Dags, take us home.
All right, everybody, that's it for the Season 14 preview show and rookie draft. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you on the field.